Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, depending on where you are in the world. Oh, I think my screen is off. That's better. Technical issues from the outset, as usual. I hope everybody's well. It's been a while since I've done an FX video, and obviously it's that time of year, New Year, and I want to I need to update all my charts, which are a complete and utter mess, which you'll see as we go. Unfortunately, I haven't had a chance to do that in advance of the stream. Yeah, just see what the results were and any insights I can give based on, you know, for myself or for you, based on like what actually happened with each of the alerts that have been going. And you know, and sometimes I've been on top of them more than others, so they're kind of variable as to whether they're good or bad. But obviously, as always, do your own research and analysis as to whether you think they're high probability or not, because they'll always be mixed. So just quickly on the dollar, and like I say, my chart's a mess. I have started to put annual zones in, but not done many of them yet. I wanted to get this out of the way so I can get all the notations off my charts and see what I'm doing a little bit. Dollar here has made an annual demand. Sorry, my screen just flickered. I don't know why that happened, so I just wanted to check nothing crazy had happened. Let me just do a double check. The stream is okay. Seems okay, I think. Don't know. Oh, it's just gone sideways. Okay, I understand. Sorry. Excuse me. Anyway, back. So you can see here we've made an annual demand on the dollar, so that's going to be very interesting, and it doesn't happen very often. It had an annual demand from the year before, but didn't come down and tap that. But one of the challenges that we're going to see in the alerts as well that I've had is that my bias from last year was long on the dollar, because we had this, like, I would include all three candles, but it's basically a 6-month demand. I mean, if you use the bottom candle, then it's come almost all the way to the bottom, whether you use the whole lot or just the bottom one. And the problem, and then it took, you know, so it took most of the year to kind of go sideways and then drop down, and then I can't remember exactly when, I think it was October or into September it hit the low. So it took all year to actually play out that 6-month demand for last year, and then it played it out obviously very strongly over the last 4 months. So that's kind of been my challenge, and I remember saying last year actually that there was a 3-month, I think it was a 3-month demand on the euro, but again it dropped really deeply inside it before moving up, and then obviously now has come all the way back down again. But yeah, so because we had this range, you know, it still moved very deeply into the range and took out this low before we got the decent move up. It's now culminated in making a weak annual, so annual demand there. Weak because it hasn't broken above this candle. So the structure is still a little bit awkward for me, because we've got this, obviously this big drop off here, but local demand is still showing up. You know, there's the annual, and then there's a 3-month here. So I'll be looking for longs on those levels as and when they hit. In a perfect world, actually, this would probably move up first, take out the high, and then come back for it, and then it would be a much stronger demand. Still looking for longs at this stage, I think. I guess the only other considerations are that we do have, you know, 5 waves up now. So are we going to get the bigger correction of this 5-wave up move? And then also overarchingly, I guess this is still a downtrend, like a slightly dubious downtrend, more of a range than a downtrend, but you know, we haven't broken this high, so this could still reject here and make a lower low. So there's some complexity, but because I predominantly trade supply and demand, I'm going to stick with annual demand is annual demand until it's broken. And you can see there was one here that got tapped for a big up move, but then it came back and dropped all the way through it at a later date. So the higher time frames may be less useful on this, and I don't fully know if this correlates with what the rest of the market's doing, or with other things going on in the market. Like I had a brief conversation with somebody about BRICS, for example. You know, that people are becoming less inclined to use the US dollar to trade gold and to trade oil. But whether those things are going to be, I don't know, obviously they're not going to be short-term changes, and whether they're even going to be significant changes, just because they're less inclined to trade in against the US dollar doesn't mean they're not going to do it at all. But yeah, so some interesting things going on, but you know, for the higher time frames, we're still looking at that up move. What else on this? I don't think there's much else I want to say on the dollar. Like I say, my charts are extremely messy because I haven't taken off any of the low time frame, little bits of the low time frame stuff. Yeah, I mean, the only thing on this, you know, I did want a test down here, see where the green cross is on these lows, which we never got, or even in this annual demand. So we don't have to get a test. So the point of supply and demand is you trade them if they test, not necessarily meaning they have to test. Excuse me, smoking as usual. Hopefully that's going to change this year, but I guess we'll see. Okay, yeah, so anyway, I don't want to be this is not supposed to be an analytical video particularly, I just wanted to point that out. Just if you notice, the other thing if you notice just when I would open this up, that I do have the Euro futures, Pound futures and Aussie futures charts on this layout. Like a lot of people use the DXY, they use the EXY, the BXY, the AXY, and all those index charts to help. I've also found it quite useful using the futures charts. If you use the adjusted, if you use the adjusted version, if you use the unadjusted version, I think it tends to look very similar to the euro dollar, pound dollar, etc. But if you use the adjusted version, you get a slightly different picture. To be honest, I'm not really sure what's valid, and you know, Google just tells me sort of both can be valid for different reasons. But I find it good to look for confluence. Like if you have confluence on the euro futures hitting some sort of a demand at the same time as euro dollars hitting a demand, that helps. So yeah, if anybody was interested or wondered why I had these on the layout too, that would be why. Euro also got annual supply there. So just moving on to the charts. So like I say, I haven't cleaned these up properly. I've done a little bit of cleaning, and I started to put in some of the potential annual 6 month, 3 month levels. So everything needs to be updated for annual 6 month, 3 month, 1 month supply, 2 month supply. So okay, so what I did, yeah, I did sort of actually put all my icons into groups and boxes so I can actually hide them easily later, thankfully. So I was looking for shorts at the top here, which was valid. It hit annual supply up there. I think it was a second test. Got a feeling, yeah, we had a test there, and then we had the retest in here. So I was looking, and again, the difficulty here was it took a while to play out. And then the other major issue I had was obviously we had this really strong move, and this kind of looks like I'm just long. So it doesn't look great, and yeah, arguably that's not great. But the difficulty I had in here is that we had, go back, that there was a week 3 month demand, and then I believe there was a monthly in there as well. Yeah, so then there was a monthly demand in here. So we did get some bounces here, but until this broke, like I was still looking for a long bias, you know, even if you were to get a move just up to here. But the problem we then had is obviously we didn't get any, like it gave a little bounce, like I think deep, or maybe even after swing failing the monthly, but just didn't get any retest. And like I've deleted them now. I mean, you can still see, like, so I tend to just move the short entries down as and when new supply is made, but I did initially have, you know, short entries here, etc. throughout down here, but none of them ever got hit. Or I think we had one that got hit in here, and just to be awkward, I think it was a 2-day supply, it then went through to a higher 12-hour before the bigger down move. In my defense on these long entries, and in fact a lot of them on the lower time frames, I was actually trading a few of them myself, and a lot of them on the lower times did actually give scalps, at least for a day or so. These ones I think I disclaimed, saying that I wasn't convinced that this was going to bounce here, but yeah, it did run through. And then we finally had some better long entries at the bottom, and then some short entries have started to come in when we started to get a bit more rangy. But again, yeah, this period here in October, I think, yeah, we had August, September were better. although I didn't have many alerts on this for September. And then, like I say, I just didn't get the retests here that I wanted. But I think October was more challenging, and the same we'll see, particularly on dollar CAD, when things just moved really hard, trended really hard, and then we didn't get those bounces that I would want, just intraday trades if nothing else. And also, I guess, taking into consideration, we did have this annual supply, so that's why this has had such a strong move down. And as I say now, we've got an annual supply in here, so I'm still going to be short bias on this. I just want to see the reaction on that, but I need to don't take much note of what I have already in here, because I still need to update these charts. And that's a euro dollar. Pound, I suspect, is going to be a similar type picture. I think this was a bit better. I think euro dollar was actually one of the weaker ones as far as giving retracement bounces. So pound again, long in there. I think the short, unfortunately, was just slightly, it did take out the high rather than giving me a lower high for the big short, if you've been in that. But I think overarchingly, even then, I think possibly from the September alerts, I was saying we're coming into monthly supply here. And you can see here I've left some of the crosses on for where we just didn't get the retests that I wanted. And this one particularly, this 2-week supply, I was really looking for it to come in here, but it just didn't quite hit it. Or I can't remember if the alert went, but it didn't quite hit the level, I'm not sure. And then again, some long entries through, and I think these were sort of, again, monthly levels and weekly levels through here. These gave a bit better bounces and intraday trades. But yeah, again, October wasn't the best. And November, again, it's the same sort of scenario. And I think, again, these ones were, it's a 3-month demand, so you can't say as such that these have failed. They did give bounces on the level, but overarchingly the 3-month is still in play. So being long biased in here wasn't a bad thing, or isn't a bad thing, and still remaining long biased, it can still go much deeper into the zone if it wants to. And again, it's been a bit easier since it's been ranging just to get some quick intraday trades on this. And like I said before, this is mostly what I trade anyway. Like, I don't look to try and sell the top and buy back at the bottom particularly. And I haven't been trading this much over the last 6 months. Actually, I've had periods where I've taken some scalps, but yeah. So my high time frame bias has been a bit more challenged than normal, because I just feel like I need to be across the charts in much more detail to be clear, because there's so much confluence. I always talk about the confluence across all the different charts, and that's why I have them on these layouts, and look at, our euro and pound hitting support at the same time, etc. Okay, euro pound. And I think the cross pairs have been better, actually. So while the majors have trended hard, obviously the cross pairs as a result have kind of bounced around a bit more. So we've had some actually I traded a euro pound quite a bit, actually, and we've had some quite nice trades on this. Some longs back in October, and then some shorts, and this had monthly supply. This one kind of just threw me a bit. It was a bit annoying because excuse me, I'll show you the monthly. Excuse me. Yeah, we hit monthly supply. There'd already been an alert that I had, but then it came up and it just closed just above, so then it kind of threw my bias off a bit. I was like, are we going to just sort of bounce on the top or somewhere in here? So I think I then became a little more reluctant to put many entries in until it became clear that it was, obviously it did a massive drop off here, didn't bounce on the support, or barely got a bounce on this support. And then, yeah, here, again, a bit of an error there to be slightly too aggressive, but still gave a scalp, to be honest. Slightly aggressive to try and hopefully get a move down, because now over to the left, we really have nothing on this. Yeah, there were just wicks that it potentially could have taken out. So I just sort of went with an aggressive short at that point, which then obviously it decided to bounce. And again, yeah, so a few of these shorts worked, a few failed, a few really nice ones. So again, possibly on this, maybe I could learn that to be slightly less aggressive. But then also, euro pound can be a bit tough, because it can be, like, here, for example, is very weak and just, went up to a daily supply here before the drop. But then other times it can sort of throw massive retracement moves. Yeah, again, I still need to do the detail on this. It looks like it's made an annual supply there, so potentially going to get that bigger move down on this as well. Yeah, overall not too bad on euro pound. Some decent alerts in there. Maybe about 70%, I think. Would have been decent, but and some of the bigger ones, which is nice. Pound Oz, a bit less on this, but I think at least I did put some comments on this. I believe that you know, I was bullish because again, monthly, 2 month, 3 month demands in here, and did get some good shorts coming down into that zone before the bounce, and I think it was created maybe after here. Shorts maybe a little bit too aggressive here, but a nice re-entry there, and nice long, nice short. So some quite nice entries there. This one again has started to reverse at that point, so it is what it is. Here I think I was hoping for a swing fail of that and looking for a more of an aggressive retest, even if it just took it down into this 2-week demand. But yeah, this just ran through more aggressively for the higher high, and then we've just had a long hit yesterday on this weekly demand. But again, per my comments yesterday, I do need to do more analysis to see what the bias is for the year, and I'll try and do a video this weekend, I think, on that, and just to update my bias and show what I think we might get over the year. And yeah, like I said, those high time frames aren't really what I trade anyway. So okay, yeah, so again, not too bad at all on pound Aussie. Going on to Aussie dollar, probably going to be the same, yeah, same situation throughout October as on euro and pound. But again, we can see we did get some bounces off these levels, and again, you know, it had, I'll show this again, the high time frame. So this was, yeah, just challenging again. You know, I was biased to short because we did have this 6-month supply. It did wick through it, unfortunately. So I think that messed up, although it's a bit of a choppy, messy one. So I think it made it hard to get the shorts off the high. I'll go back and have a look in a second, see if I actually did get any. But then we got the big move, but also, you know, like, it just took so long for this to play out. And I think we've also got an annual, yeah, so it had an annual supply here. So again, I've just been high time frame biased on this for a long time anyway, and you know, arguably if we've made this supply there and tested it, then we expect to take out this low. But obviously it's an annual chart, so that could happen in, you know, I could be dead by the time that happens, really. But yeah, this 6-month eventually played out for the bigger move lower. But again, so yeah, with a bit of hindsight, having seen these kind of major zones finally take out, but I think I was just a bit sucked in by the ranging that we'd had here and just thinking, oh, we're probably going to get bounces. And again here, like, it was really struggled to get bounces up to where I would have liked shorts. So we got some decent ones in here, so those are nice. And like I say, these intraday, these bounces were actually all right. So the levels on Aussie did actually work out okay for intraday trades. So while it looks terrible on the higher time frames, if you look at sort of the 8 and 12 hour, they actually weren't bad entries for moves intraday or intra-week. But yeah, not too many short entries, but a few decent ones in there. And then coming down to this weekly demand now, which I think has already been tested, but I mean, yeah, looking for the possibility of a swing failure under that wick. It might just take a little bit of time to get there. Euro Aussie. Again, like I say, one of the cross pairs not too bad. Some of the entries are a little bit too aggressive and just took a bit of time. Again, I think that some of the times for turnarounds, for the higher time frame turnarounds, took longer, and you know, occasionally they'll be really quick like this with a V-shaped recovery. Other times they'll be a little bit slower like this. So I need to go back and maybe draw some more levels on this chart. I'm not sure. So we had a 3-month. Not sure if that's a 3-month closed underneath. Let me check. So yeah, again, I think it's those big swings. So we had, so I remember this one was very messy and annoying. So we had a 3-month demand, but then it just ran back through it, turned it into supply, but then also ran back through it on this giant wick. So the 3 months just been choppy and difficult. And yeah, now we're coming into monthly demand here actually. So I'm probably still long bias on this. I've got it alerted, I think, as a weekly. It's also probably a weekly as well as that monthly. So lower time frame, again, not too bad yet. So that long bias through there is due to, I think, being on monthly demand and being at the base here. I think I was hoping to take out this low, but I think I had a that final alert was for a swing fail of those two lows without potentially taking out the bigger one. We did then eventually take that out, and unfortunately just didn't quite. I was looking for a tap into that 2-day demand from over here, but didn't quite get there. And again, some nice re-entries on the long side. That one's a little bit early, and then here long in the top. You know, and again, it looks like I'm long in the top, but can't remember my particular thoughts on this at the time, but when you do get these sort of rollovers and turnarounds, you do get some nice intraday swings again. So this on a 4-hour would have been a quite nice move up into supply if you took profit there before the bigger down move. And again, I think the shorts were a little bit challenging in October as well. So obviously, and I think through here we had a weekly. So again, I was looking for, you know, possibilities of a reversal, but again, it went very high into the weekly. I think it's a weekly or 2 weekly. But yeah, not too bad on that. Maybe 60% or so, I think. But again, if you include the intraday, not like a bit better. And it's like really a lot of these is just a question of how you trade them. You know, if you are a swing trader and you're looking for, you know, these, let's say these entries were on a 3-month or whatever they were demand, you know, you've got to be patient and wait. You know, wait for the retest, wait for the stop hunt if there is one, etc., etc. If you're looking like I do for the intraday or the intra-week moves and the bounces, you still need a bit of waiting, but you know, you can use the lower time frames and then you're exiting, you know, when you think there might be a supply. I'm not sure what this was. Well, it's a black cross. It probably was a maybe. Black crosses tend to be either swing failures or when I'm very dubious about a zone for some reason. Yeah, anyway, so we've got a monthly demand now, so I guess the bias on this is still up, but then an annual supply, so again, just be a little bit careful until I reconsider the bias and reset some alerts. Aussie CAD. Similar scenario, and I think again this one was pretty nice. This one actually did give some wild enough swings because of the weakness of the CAD to be able to give some good short entries as well as good long entries. So this, I think, was actually looks like one of the better outcomes that we had. And then what has happened? Okay, so again we've got a 3-month demand here, but we're coming down obviously quite a lot deeper inside it now. So I think I was looking for the retest there for that to be the end of the down move, but no such luck as yet. And then this, but yeah, I suppose we had this big wick to fill, so we could still continue to fill that. But again, need to see what the annual's done here. And a big monthly demand that we're very, very deep inside. So yeah, I was obviously looking for tests on the monthly demand for a decent move, and that did give the decent move up, unlike Aussie US. Okay, but yeah, pretty good on Aussie CAD there. Not too unhappy with that. But really, yeah, my takeaways remain, I think, probably the same as actually in Q3. That it's trying to understand better when these strong trends are going to happen. And I still don't really know if there's an answer for that, because just sort of trading up and down, you know, and it is hard, you know, sometimes you'll see the strong trends and other times they'll give you really solid retests. So and I think it's probably looking at the higher time frames more, and maybe just taking more note of strong supply and strong demand. You know, I don't want to give it the other difficulty is I could give much fewer alerts, like, and I've said to somebody who was asking me about them that, you know, like really you want to trade, you know, the bottoms and tops of impulses, because, you know, even if you don't get like a trending down move, they're the ones most likely to get a reaction. Like here, we get a strong move up, a strong move back down, so when it revisits that, we get strong drops, and when it revisits the bottom here, it gets a strong up move, again twice. But then obviously, like if I only put alerts for those types of levels, yes, they're much higher probability, but then, you know, you won't get entries for sort of months apart. So it's trying to get a balance between actually giving possible entries, but not having them be too low probability, or against a really strong trend. And that's again the other difficulty with me not being across it fully myself, because then I'm not necessarily aware of when we are trending strongly, or when that might start to be happening. Anyway, moving on. So again, I want this to be a relatively quick video. We're already 25 minutes. New Zealand. Unsurprisingly, the same as all the other majors. No idea what this is. I guess it ran through it, whatever it was. I think maybe just at a daily or a 2-day over there. Yeah, similar to the other majors, did get a nice short entry in here, actually one of the ones that did give a test on the weekly. But again, still trending strongly through what was monthly demands, but with small intraday bounces, another short entry there, but I think it actually held the zone on this. It did swing foul the zone eventually, but did give a decent down move first. But yeah, again, not horrendous on this if you were at least across the trend and not trying to hold these for too long. At least they did give bounces. And yeah, so the other thing is, what you're really looking for is, if you are going to be a swing trader and you're going to hold this, that they're not giving you anything which is telling you to hold it. So, even on a daily chart, it's got daily supply immediately above, comes up, doesn't break daily supply, probably rejected off a 12-hour or 8-hour or something slightly lower, and then moves down without making a new 12-hour or 8-hour demand. So there's nothing really to long on a re-entry. When I start putting a long re-entries for example, here, when at least we're in a major zone, I'm still short biased because of the weekly supply there. They came up higher, did make a lower low, but then came up higher inside it. May not have been a weekly at the time, I'm not sure. But then, if it does give you an 8 or 12-hour, in this case a daily demand to look for a long, that's fine. But again, you're still looking for those consolidations to start showing an uptrend on the higher time frame. So this is a daily. So while this might have shown an uptrend on a 4-hour and 8-hour, on the daily it still wasn't strong enough and unable to break daily supply here. Made a new daily supply, a new daily demand, and just bounced between them before breaking down again. And we're looking exactly the same here, now. We have daily or higher time frame supply in here. Is it going to manage to break through it and retest it? And then we're going to look for a better probability long entry for a bigger possible move. And yeah, on the trending thing, like I say, it becomes hard because, so I could say that, and let's say, if I do the analysis and this is like a really decent level that I'd expect possibly a strong trending move, but then, we still have weekly or 2 weekly supply here. I'm still inclined to put short alerts, but then we could end up with a run like this that runs straight back to the top. So it is a lot more challenging trying to predict when we're going to get these big trending moves versus like smaller swings like this, which will give you lots of entries on the lower time frames. But yeah, not too bad on the New Zealand dollar apart from that October of trending. Would have liked this to be a little bit better. Unfortunately, I think I was looking for taking out this high at the highs, but it just took out the one before. And again, some of these had challenges at the highs, that they had so many different highs, it's hard to know, if you're looking for a swing fail of that one, if you're looking for a swing fail of that one, if there's others that are higher. This actually had a 6-month supply up there, but I think it had already been tested, but I think ideally I was looking for a test into that 6-month supply, which we didn't get. Here in New Zealand, and another one that looks a little bit better. Like I say, the cross pairs just generally were better. So nice long bias down here, very nice re-entry there. So this is a nice example of what you're looking at, when something hits a major zone that you're interested in this case it also hit a 3-monthly at the low there, then you're looking for that retest for the decent up move, and this in fact didn't break supply there, but a decent up move and then the retest. Not sure what this was, I guess this was an 8-hour demand or something in here, so managed to get some decent long entries there, through into a short entry from the top there. So I guess I was being slightly more conservative, or maybe it was just too choppy through here to look for a short. And then some nice scalp longs and shorts throughout this area until we finally started trending strongly again, but at least did get, actually I think it didn't quite tap the level here, but the alert, I remember the alert went on the daily demand there to get the last move up, if you got it. And then finally dollar Swiss franc. So this is kind of the reverse of the others, I guess, in the the dollars have just trended strongly, so we didn't get much off, similar to the other majors. We didn't get much off each of these zones. But some, we did get a decent consolidation here, but then, it didn't really give a nice entry and then into a nice long at least off there. And then this consolidation, reasonable to be short biased, and then into a nice long, so that's good. So actually not too bad on that. These ones I call sort of blind entries. When the price is coming up really hard, you're just kind of going, okay, there's a weekly zone here. I've got a feeling there might have been like a week, a 2 week, a 3 week through here, and I think it went up, so you can see there's a 3 week there that it went up to. But I think there were a whole bunch of zones in here. Like I say, black is normally swing failures, so maybe I was looking for a swing failure over that high that we didn't get. Oh, and I think this one was just the yearly level, and again, just I don't normally look at yearly levels, but or levels. I look more at supply and demand than at levels, but I think maybe I was looking to see if we got a rejection off that yearly level. But no, it pushed higher up to the 3 week there. But again, like I say, I don't think, I've got a feeling, this might have been a 2 week supply and maybe encompasses this whole area. So these aren't necessarily fails on the higher time frame, but just didn't get the reaction immediately off the level. And that, like I say, again, is something to watch out for. Swing traders can set your set limit orders if you really want to throughout the whole zone. But I'd still be waiting for some sort of confirmation. The difficulty is, if you had set out throughout the whole zone, that's fine, and you did get some sort of a move down, but probably would have not been big enough and ended up getting stopped out on the second run. Since then, I've kind of left this alone because, again, it was like, once it's sort of pushed up into this 3 monthly, then it just became a bit choppy up here. And I think I wasn't really seeing the confluence with the other charts to put any shorts on this over the last month. But now, as of yesterday, we did hit this daily supply up the top here, so let's see if we get a bigger move off that. And yeah, at the moment, a long entry down here on the 2 week demand, but we'll need to see if there's been new monthlies, etc. put in since then. I think my bias on this is still down though, because we still do have 6 months supply, and we didn't take out the low. So it's possible we still just continue the triangle here, but I need to think about it some more. Okay, so that's dollar Swiss franc. Be happy to remove all these crosses from my charts anyway. I can actually see what I'm doing. It makes it quite hard to see the high time frames. Dollar yen, after the massive unwinding of the carry trade, again, just started to retrace, and again, strongly trending, retracing all of it. I wasn't so aggressive on shorts on this, but also because it came down so hard. So I was trying to align it with, I was looking at these a bit more actually and trying to align them with the other yen cross pairs, and putting in alerts more later. So we did get some decent scalp short entries and then the bigger short entry. This obviously went through local demand there, coming down deeper into this 4 hour. I think I was unsure about that level, but actually it held quite nicely. And what about down here? Yeah, so again, I was trying to get the long in there down there, but it became a bit choppy down here. I mean, maybe that held the 3 day demand. I'm not sure exactly what that cross was, but it's obviously gone deeper after that anyway, if not deeper inside the same zone. And now we're up in monthly supply here, so again, my bias has potentially gone to short here. The difficulty with the yen pairs as well, and again, everybody is whether this carry trade, because everyone's going to be wary of this carry trade. There's a lot of people trapped in here, so is that just going to send this straight back down again? But this did come off, swing failure of 6 month demand, so there is actually no reason why this couldn't just take out the high. The bias is still up and it's still 6 months, but it really just depends what the Bank of Japan are going to be doing. A lot of the unwinding came from them reporting they were going to start increasing interest rates, but I'm not sure if they ever actually did increase interest rates, or if they did, it was very insignificant in the grand scheme of things. Thus, we got the yen weakening significantly again. But yeah, at least on this, it's given some decent swings to look for entries in both directions. A couple of bad ones, but for the most part, not horrendous. Euro yen, bit larger swings on this. So again, like I say, on the cross pairs has been a bit better. So some decent longs throughout, and 1 or 2 failed, and then some decent shorts, and 1 or 2 failed. But actually, for the most part, this has been pretty good outcomes on that. And that's this is obviously very much my preferred sort of scenario. When you've got this ranging. challenge here is that we've got this sort of monthly supply. So yeah, I was interested as to what would happen, you know. So while these are coming off first 6 month demands, this did make a fairly large unpleasant monthly supply and a weak one, but still. So I was looking for, you know, are we going to get the bigger down move on this now? Guess we'll see. But anyway, yeah, not bad on dollar yen, euro yen. Pound yen, you can see on monthly now, slightly awkward, also made that same monthly supply, but more weekly than the euro, but now has flipped it back to a monthly demand, both weak on the supply side and the demand side, so a little bit more messy on that. Let's look at the lower time frames and see the entries. So again, nice aggressive long entry there. So these are the ones, you know, that I tend to miss because I'm not updating all these throughout the week all the time. And so this was a Wednesday, you know, the Tuesday candle closed very slightly higher, and then it took off for Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, before retracing after the weekend. Or was that Friday? Yeah, retraced on the Friday. But yeah, so I tend to miss out some of these aggressive entries from during the week, just because I tend to update these at weekends, and you know, the ones I'm trading I'll update during the week, but less so on all of the pairs. Again, some nice short entries through here, good bias, looking for shorts for this down drop off monthly supply. I think this was always just a weekly supply, 3 week supply up there, and came a bit deeper into the weekly demand. Was looking for that higher low on here, so didn't quite get that, and just took out the lows here before another move up. And again, my bias has been down on this due to that monthly supply, which it's now potentially flipped, so I'm going to delete that. I was looking for the swing fail of that equal highs there. It was a nice, clean, easy trade. Did give a drop, although then because of the timing of Christmas, it's come back up higher. But yeah, very much need to update this chart, but some like not bad entries in there at all. Aussie yen. Aussie yen, yeah, just sort of messed out for a really long time in here. I think I was looking, you know, I really wanted it to come up here like the others did, but this was just weaker, overarchingly weaker than all the others, cross pairs on the yen. Let's put that level back in. So yeah, did come up and take out this high, and obviously I've got a lower time frame swing fail that it managed to do there, just to be a little bit awkward. A nice swing fail here. So I think I had, decent bias here. It's another monthly supply. So in this case, you know, it has hit the monthly supply, which would have been that alert there, I imagine. And it is actually struggling a little bit more here, although I have put a couple of longs in, so I've probably forgotten when I've set those longs that this actually does have a monthly supply. So again, I need to look at this a bit more closely now. But yeah, so clearly I was short biased here. A couple of longs in there, but for the most part short biased. I think I was struggling with it a bit because I think I did want it to go up here. So again, hence that long entry in there. We're looking for that potential second push. But then initially short off this, but then as it took time, starting to get a little bit more long bias until this final sort of like, I was then like, no, this is probably going to break down. It's been here too long, and everything else, I think by this point, everything else had hit these higher supplies, so it looked more likely this was going to drop. And also, unfortunately, so the alert did go for this 2-day demand, but I've reset the alert. That's why there's 2 crosses there, so we did get a bounce just above the level. Yeah, so a couple of poor entries in there, but a lot of short scalps up the top. But all in, not too bad. Now I'll move on to the CAD pairs, and like I say, yeah, dollar CAD I think is probably the worst of the bunch, because, well, it looks the worst of the bunch, but hopefully you weren't just trying to short. But yeah, so I should probably also clarify, the other thing that I do is, you know, if I see an alert hit, and particularly if I'm not actively trading it, what I tend to do is just quickly look at it and move the alert up to the next level, and that's also why you'll see this, because I'm just moving the alerts without necessarily analysing them. I always say do your own analysis. Again, with a bit of hindsight, this I was actually very long biased through. I think I had a similar problem here because I was very long biased through here. Let me have a look. Yeah, so you can see here I was quite long biased here because we had monthly demand, and then we had 6 monthly demand, and I was also quite long biased coming off the lows. So with hindsight, hide those again. like I knew we were in 6 month demand here, so with hindsight it was pretty stupid actually to have been, so at least with that one, you know, even if not with the other ones, okay, could have given a swing, but to be so aggressive on this was probably a little bit silly after the double bottom. So that's a lesson learned. And then yeah, obviously the 6 months just played out really strongly and taken out all supply on the way back up. And also didn't retest to any level. I think it gave 1 or 2 retests in here. That was possibly when I wasn't looking at it. Did then manage to get some longs and finally became quite long biased up here. And the other thing with hindsight was a bit stupid, but again, like I say, it just retraced more than I wanted it to. Is like even back, I think it might certainly on my last video, or maybe even on the June video, I was showing the Canada futures chart and the CXY charts, and showing how they had 6 month supply. I'm going to drink some of my cold coffee, and showing how they had 6 months supply and therefore look like, I'll show you quickly now actually, Forex, where are we? I think it's futures. So yeah, I have cleaned this, I did clean up my futures charts already, so I've cleaned this up a bit, but yeah, I think around here from like, yeah, July, August, whatever video I did then, it came up higher than I wanted. Like I was looking probably for it to drop from here, but it came up and there was an annual, so is it an annual supply, or if that's a new annual supply, but I think it might have been, yeah, it was a 6 month supply at that point, so it did come up high and then tapped the 6 month supply a couple of times, and that's why we now have this big move down. And again, like looking at the futures chart, we're now looking at taking out this low yearly level and 6 monthly level below. But yeah, I was very, very short biased on this, i.e. should have been much more long bias on dollar CAD. So with hindsight, again, remember my own bias, it's probably the lesson there. But anyway, yeah, so at least I managed to get some decent longs and a decent bias from this point in time. I think there, yeah, this was the point that dollar looked like it might be like rolling over temporarily at least. So I think I was looking for the possibility of a rejection here, but I had disclaimed it, sort of saying obviously this is still strong. I think that might have been a 4 hour supply in there. Yeah, and to be fair, it probably took far too long to actually get to it. And then yeah, now up in 2 day supply, and it's still obviously thinking about it, but it's just consolidating through here. So at this point, still looks like it probably wants to go higher. But yeah, I'm wondering if this is just going to turn into like a dollar yen scenario. You know, it's this sort of huge consolidation. Are we going to get a breakout of this, and therefore, like, you know, either, you know, dollar getting super strong, or, you know, CAD really falling off a cliff for some reason. You know, if this really does decide to move, I have to go back and look at the ICE charts. Obviously 6 month level a bit higher up there, but you know, this is a huge 10-year consolidation which could potentially break out. So that's going to be really interesting to see how this plays out. Take out some of these levels now. Yeah, so obviously I just sort of deleted some weekly levels there, but this is why I was starting to be short biased in here, because I was looking for some bigger reaction off the weekly, and you know, it did get start to get some reactions, but still holding demand and still making weekly demands. That's dollar CAD, EUROCAD. Probably going to be similar to the other euro pairs, and again, yeah, so got quite extended here. Obviously, yeah, I was starting to be long biased because of 2 to 3 months demand. Got quite extended here, and unfortunately just didn't again quite get down. I was looking to take out those stops, but just took out everything just short of that. But yeah, long bias, and also yeah, monthly demand here. So I had month, 2 month, and 3 month, and I think I was commenting on all of them, and you know, gave a little bounce off that one, but then did, you know, do this sort of V shape right down into it, so it made it a little bit harder to enter if that's something you were trading. And this hasn't actually been that clean on the levels. I can see here that I would have had a 3 day demand, which wasn't quite tested, and there's a 4 day in there as well. This one I said, you know, you're looking for the swing failure back into this level, and hasn't swing failed, at least not on the daily. And then back here, you know, some few ranging shorts and longs, which were not too bad. A couple of fails, short there and long there failed, but not too bad on the whole. So not much else to learn from my bias there. I think, yeah, again, like I say, it was just that the high time frames just become hard, because sometimes you'll see that immediate bounce off the level. So I believe this is a previous monthly level here, and you had these bounces straight off the level, Unfortunately, in this case, didn't make a higher high, but they did bounce right on the level, but then came down much deeper inside the zone, which was, you know, looking for those longs in there. But in fact, then ended up probably actually looks like it broke the monthly here, but held the lower 3 month, 2 month, and 3 month. So that's EURCAD, now on to PoundCAD. So PoundCAD, not dissimilar to EURCAD actually, so something here, I don't know, I think I was looking on for that daily inside this big monthly, but it came down much, much deeper in the zone, and then didn't give a retest, unfortunately. Short there probably would have given a scalp, but then, you know, obviously that's just when it started to reverse. But again, the big monthly played out, but just came very, very deep inside it, which is, yeah, as I consistently say, always a challenge. And then some decent scalps through here, a little bit wicky. Like, I think this wasn't as good as I liked. If I looked at the lower time frames, I think they, you know, wicked quite heavily inside zones. Nice short re-entries over there. And yeah, actually not too bad, but, you know, a couple of ones that weren't great, like there. Not sure again. So sometimes, like I say, I long up here or long tops as such, because I'm just looking for the retest, and then I would have had a short entry, so maybe there was a short here that just didn't actually get hit, because that's kind of what happened there. So just missed my short re-entry on there. But other times I'm just thinking, you know, maybe we're going to get a move up to the next supply, and that's again always the challenge of whether we're going to just swing fail. So I can see this orange level is a previous high, so we can just swing fail or just like deviate just over the top. And swing failures I find are becoming less common. We seem to be getting more. I mean, it will still be a swing failure probably on a weekly or a 3-day, but we seem to be getting more moves above zones, consolidating a bit, like an encouraging breakout. I'm not sure if this is because of too many retail traders trading swing failures now. Just thought I haven't checked my my Telegram. I should check just in case anybody tells me like my microphone isn't working or anything or something like that. Anyway, I've got no comments, so I'm hoping it's okay. Yeah, so anyway, yeah, not too bad on PoundCAD there. Get some nice scalps anyway. And then CAD Yen. Again, not too bad here, some decent longs through this. Nice solid long entries actually. Two zones are on top of each other there. What happens sometimes when my computer downstairs doesn't update over my computer up here, or vice versa. Yeah, I think all of the CAD pairs, actually this one kind of failed. Oh, actually no, I think maybe EURCAD, sorry, Euro-Yen, all the Yen pairs. I think Euro-Yen maybe did okay on this one, but yeah, after this big drop, we were then looking, I think a lot of people were looking for that retest entry for a secondary drop, which just didn't get given, and eventually they all came up through. But I think Euro-Yen, or one or two of the cross pairs gave at least a scalp off that particular entry. I always find it quite interesting when you have such a big sell-off and that yet it can still just get bought straight back up through it. But yes, and some nice scalps up through here as well. One long that wouldn't have worked there when it did decide to break down, and then some nice long entries in here. I think I had a 3-day and a weekly here, so I think the 3-day might have got run through, or at least it came deep inside it, and then the weekly worked. And then yeah, some just little scalps through here. But yeah, not too bad on CAD Yen. And let's look at gold and silver and then quickly do the indices, and then I'm done, and then I can clean up all these damn charts. So gold and silver, I think I also, you know, clearly I laid off this a lot. You know, once this was just breaking out, then it's just breaking out, and I think I was trailing up demand entries, but yeah, just wasn't getting given any retests that I wanted. I think, yeah, here, I think I was looking for a retest on that 2-day there, which just didn't, you know, it gave a double bottom, but it didn't even come back and take it out, just with that strength on gold. And then I was trying also not to be too aggressive on short entries. Did get a short in there and a very brief scalp there, but I just thought I think it was worth a try. And then yeah, longs, even now, like longs, okay, so fine, we did get some long entries, which gave, like, I think all of these have given scalps. That would have given a lower time frame scalp at least. Decent move there, but again, not got back up. Like, you know, really I wanted the short re-entry on this daily, and it just hasn't gone back up to test that. So it's had, you know, triple top there, but not gone back. And it's daily entry, re-entry there in the weekly supply. So I'll put it's actually a grey annual level, so that's actually should be a weekly. But yeah, I just need to have a look at this more now to see what I think it's going to do. But yeah, I just feel like I need more time on this. I mean, this is obviously, gold's just been crazy for since the war started. You know, I'll say it's nice to say that, you know, back here we did get the long entry on that 6 month there, and again that's just, you know, a really nice example of, you know, how a 6 month demand can really work out. This is the daily chart. So but you know, once it hit this 6 month demand and took some stops under here, that's just, it's taken off from there. And conveniently, you know, that's exactly the date, 7th of October, that Palestine attacked Israel. I probably shouldn't say Palestine, it's probably politically incorrect, but Hamas attacked Israel, and conveniently it happens when gold's right at demand. Never quite understand how that works, but it does seem to work. Anyway, so yeah, fewer entries on that, but none of them probably, I don't know, maybe 60-40, not too bad, at least for scalps. And silver's been a bit better actually. It's been a bit more rangy, and gave it, like I said, you know, I was very wary of this even myself and didn't trade it unfortunately. But I think I put, you know, this Black Cross because I was tentative. This is a monthly supply, and then it had these two levels just above it from historically. Let's look at a bit higher time frame. Long term back, I mean, despite in fact that level, you know, I thought it might go further stops of those highs, but actually just got to give a really clean rejection off the monthly and then a really nice retest. So that actually was surprisingly easy on silver for a change and didn't mess around too much. And on top of that, you know, just given some really nice scalps throughout on this, some real nice intraday trades there. This, I think I was looking for a swing fail of those lows. I think it didn't quite take it there, but then when it did come back here, then it actually ran through it more deeply. And yeah, again, but now it's the only other thing is since these original ones, I think, you know, I was hoping again for a test back up at this daily once we'd started this move up now, and it does have now 2 month demand and also monthly demand there. So so again, that's why I went into being long biased here. So it's come again probably deeper inside the monthly demand. I imagine that runs all the way down to here. But now trying to bounce off 2 week demand and 3 week inside it. So yeah, need to see if this could start to give more of an up move now, but I don't love that it's left these equal lows down here. I've got a whole stream without my mouse turning itself off, but now it's just done it. Yeah, anyway, so not too bad on that. Couple of fails on the long side when it's just been more aggressively falling, but overall some pretty good entries. And then finally the 8 indices chart. So, and again, these are probably not dissimilar to lost a cross off this because this did get an entry here. I know that, an alert for there. Okay, so yeah, obviously the indices charts not dissimilar to things like the dollar pairs and dollar CAD. You know, they generally haven't been coming back for long entries, or if they do, then they rather annoyingly tends to be time for them to reverse. So then they run through the long entries. Oh, that had just disappeared. No, it's reappeared. There it is. But yeah, so I kind of put some shorts in just when it does look like it's consolidating and may get a move down. But you know, I mean, here it just chopped around before eventually breaking up again. And here, you know, yes, it had a decent move down. Didn't have the monthly at that stage, but you know, as soon as it hit weekly demand again, it just pounded off it. There was a possibility of a short off this off the daily supply in there, but again, just didn't get very far. So yeah, indices just have been a bit more challenging, and I've said again in previous alerts, that previous results, updates, and videos that I don't really like putting alerts on these because I think like if you're going to trade indices, I think they really need your full-time attention. So I did at some stage start to put only on the higher time frame, so you'll see fewer alerts on them, but then occasionally I just think, oh, what the hell, I'll alert that zone and see what happens. So that's the Dow, S&P 500. So I think, and it's also, so it's the US indices that tend to be harder. I think the other ones are actually a lot better, so that's why I continue to watch them. I think if the results weren't as good I would also be less inclined to put any alerts on these at all. But because the other countries' indices tend to be a bit more responsive, it's worth doing. S&P again, very few alerts. So a nice short here on it's back from July. I probably should have hidden that, but anyway. October again, trying to short in there, but just didn't get very far. Decent long entry there, but failed short. And then there was another similar to Dow, I think, you know, looking at this daily to see if it got a reaction, but no, still pushed higher. Did have a weekly demand here, I'm not sure. I think I was just in two minds about alerting this. I think this confirmed when we were back over here, but I kind of wasn't sure with the daily whether it would, you know, and with the fact it already wicked into this level, whether we'd end up going all the way back down. Again, the difficulty with these big moves on the indices is that, you know, like this, is they'll put in sort of weekly demands and things like that that are massive because of the big moves up. So like here you've got this large weekly demand here, a very large weekly demand. So I can put the alert on the top of it. You know, it's still valid even if it goes down here, but, you know, to try and consider whether it's actually going to take out stops and go all the way back to the start of the impulse is hard. You know, in this case, like, you know, it hasn't come back. There's a monthly demand down here and it hasn't come back to test it. You know, it just picked up support off this previous just SR level before moving up. So, and I think similar here, I think I was like, oh, I'm not convinced by putting an alert on the weekly here. I put it, you know, and I thought maybe it confirmed the monthly at the same time. But yeah, it hasn't got back down there yet. So yeah, a few alerts on that. NZDUSD. Again, yeah, some decent shorts on this, but again, still quite hard to put shorts. I'm not sure what that, I think that was just an aggressive short, might have been a weekly supply in there or something, which then got flipped later. But actually not too bad here. I think there's a couple of decent ones, so that long wouldn't have worked, but this long and this long were very nice. And I think similar here, you know, it has made weekly demand, but I'm just becoming a bit more wary of them now. You know, they are, you know, very significant moves up for the entire year. Oh no. This happens sometimes that I just end up, delete. Again, if I open the, if I open old charts again on my phone or something like that, sometimes it just decides to put back a whole bunch of the old levels, and I think NASDAQ's done this a few times now, which is kind of exceptionally annoying. So it puts back a lot of my old levels and throws me off. So I'll just delete some of those while I'm here. Alerts down here which I've got missed. That's most of them. Anyway, yeah, so what, you know, all these US indices now have made, you know, they had annual demands, and so this, I said last year again, like I expected these strong up moves because of these bounces on annual demands, and you can see the same if you look at, you know, Facebook and MicroStrategy, Microsoft, all those charts had annual demands, and they put in, you know, right at the end of last year in many cases, and then just straight off those. So really do look at what annual demands and 6-month demands and things are on your charts. Like I say, I haven't updated all of these yet. Well, I did put some of the levels in, but need to see. But I mean, yeah, these are just, you know, you need to just long these aggressively if they're what you're trading, and you know, wait for the higher time frames to roll over, because at the moment, you know, while they do have significant drops when they want to, they are holding all the higher time frame zones, certainly all the monthlies. And even I think 2-week and weekly are generally not getting broken down. Again, it's a 2-week here, it took a massive wick, but did close back inside this 2-week demand. So, but then yeah, oh, interestingly, so now it's got a 5-day. So we've now got a 5-day supply in there, which it's just rejected. So that's kind of interesting. So yeah, these are kind of what I'm watching out for. You know, are we going to start making any higher time frame supplies, which then might push the larger drops? So it's interesting to see that's got a 5-day supply. So this could end up with a larger down move. And yeah, anyone who's trading Bitcoin should be slightly wary of that, because these tend to follow. And I can see, yeah, it's got a 5-day supply there on Dow and S&P. But Dow being a lot more risky because it's hit monthly demand. But yeah, some interesting charts actually. These are going to be to when I do my proper analysis for the end of the year updates, see what they look like. J225. Again, I think this has given some nice scalps, but it hasn't given much movement for the last 3 months. It's just been really going sideways. So long here, I guess, is on weekly demand, but then did take a big wick down through it, so probably wouldn't have been a very useful long. Nice short. Long here a little bit too early, but again may have been on some higher time frame zone that's held. Similar here, and it's just come deeper, nice short. So the shorts have kind of actually been better on this. The longs have just been a little bit too early. And this one was quite nice. So I need to think about a little bit about what that's doing, because it's just faffing around sideways in the structure. And you know, it looks quite similar to dollar yen and the yen cross pairs. You know, it had this significant drop and now is just sort of finding a sideways movement. So maybe we just really need to ignore that drop and just block that out of the chart. And then, you know, really what it should have just done was this through this area, through that being the range. Because if that's the case, then you're looking at something that's much more similar to this, ignoring this big ridiculousness in the middle. But anyway, yeah, so just a few entries on that, and then the shorts are better than the longs. Russell's another one I think that's reasonably nice. Some really nice longs in there, really nice short off the swing fairly at the high, nice short from there. A little bit too aggressive on that. This one would have given a scalp. I think I was hoping at this point this would scalp down lower into here, but no, it just sort of took off instead. Yeah, so my bias was obviously a little bit off here. I was at least hoping for a lower high at this point. I think this was a 3-month supply that we'd hit here, but maybe just had a bit too much consolidation, and obviously had hit 3-month demand down there as well. So, but yeah, very nice short off there. And then now we're looking at, well, you know, we're looking at this monthly demand holding hopefully through here, potentially further. Then maybe this is going to take off now. And depends if the other indices, I don't know, it's a tough one, because you know, the Russell tends to be weaker than the other indices from what I've seen, but then also on occasion it can do its own thing. I'm just going to put the heating on, I'm freezing. Occasionally it can just do its own thing. So yeah, if the other indices are ready to drop, I'm just not sure if this is going to be able to hold its own, or whether it's going to start, we're going to see the bigger move, you know, breaking monthly demand. But anyway, like I say, I'll think that through. Euro 50. Again, I think this has been a pretty nice one. I think there was a period maybe back in October that the scalps over here were a little bit harder. So yeah, we're trying to long there and failed. Long down here would have been okay, and then short here, not too bad. I went a little bit higher. Short there, and again a little bit higher. Some decent shorts through there, and decent long, and then another long was a little bit early for the re-entry on that. And then again, the bigger swings have been quite nice on this. So yeah, not too bad on Euro 50. And I think my bias was more short on this because of the monthly supply, but obviously it did go, I think here it just went quite high inside it. And also hasn't hit, it's only hit a weekly demand at the lows, so I think my bias was generally short on this. Might even had 2-month supply, maybe has that now, but I'll look later. Aussie 200. I've always been long bias on this, but again, it hasn't necessarily given me the entries that I wanted. You know, this is one of the ones that actually has continued to, while it hasn't had big up moves, it's continued to make monthly demands. And I was doing the 3-month demand down there now. So here, you know, hit the 2-week inside the monthly demand, and managed to make a new high. Shorts here actually not too bad. I think there was one that was a little bit aggressive. Actually, I think that might have worked. That one actually might have worked low time frame. No, I think this one didn't, but then the second one I gave a really nice move low time frame, but then obviously then continued up. But obviously coming off this 2-weekly demand, the trend is still up. So these were just aggressive shorts. Here I think I was just looking for a lower high because it had made a 12-hour supply, and the other indices looked like they might want to drop. It did give again a scalp down for a couple of days, but then went back up to take the high yet again. And now again we're back in this monthly demand, so not sure what this was. Maybe this was just a retest of the monthly or a weekly or something in there. I don't know. I'd have to look at the higher time frames to see. But yeah, so obviously did get a bit of a bounce there, but then has come a lot deeper. And then finally, last but not least, the FTSE 100. So somebody I follow was like super bullish on this, and I kept putting shorts, and I was like, and I think they were just convinced it was going to take out all these highs, and at this point maybe it will. But yeah, I was sort of looking for shorts for most of this section due to weekly supply. And I had one that was a little bit early, but all the others actually weren't too bad, and just at least gave scalps. It just took its sweet time moving. Nice short up here in 12-hour supply, one a little bit early there, and even here I think, not sure why I would have done that. Like occasionally I just do crazy things, like if I'm looking for a long there, I think, you know, I must have been looking at this point for it to come down and take out that low, given we're coming off weekly supply, but then it's gone much higher inside it. I think this was a 4-day supply through here, and it just again just ran straight through it. Here, unfortunately, a little bit early on that, like I think it was a daily demand in here, but it's run through it, or at least run to the base of it before moving up. But again, not too bad on this. So I'd say overall, like now thinking through kind of everything I've just looked at, go back off kind of the futures chart, put that back to, let's have a quick look at the CXY actually while I'm here. Yeah, so CXY is, you know, just not dissimilar. It's what we're seeing, you know, dollar CAD in reverse. You know, that are we going to make a triple bottom here, or is this just going to fall off a cliff now? And yeah, it's not great for CAD at the moment. It's not really looking great. I don't want to be bearish at potential support, but yeah, I don't think it's looking particularly good for the Canadian dollar right now. And not with it, that's also got annual supply on it by the looks of things. Yeah, so it's closed below this annual level, but also has messy, but also has an annual supply in here. So yeah, kind of interesting. See what the Canadian dollar does, but it's not looking particularly good right now. I don't know, maybe I'm being too dramatic. I think, you know, I've probably been trading crypto a bit too much recently, thinking that, you know, since December 2014, we've just been going in this range, so maybe we're just going to bounce in this range again. You know, even if we get a bounce, you know, around here, even if we take out the lows and go up to the annual supply, that can still take a couple of years to do if it wants to, even if it is going to do that later, and or if it's just going to go, you know, just going to continue in this range. But yeah, I mean, just obviously the Canadians just need to be careful if we do start closing down here and then, you know, come and back test that, and that's going to be bad. But yeah, I don't really want to be super bearish at support, but not something I think looks particularly good right now. Anyway, put that back on the Euro futures chart, which should be on that layout. Yeah, so overarchingly, I think, yeah, so the strong trending remains the issue. That if we do get strong trends, it can be hard to judge them in advance, and it's something I still need to learn from, and still need to, and you know, again, like, so if you're actively trading, then obviously you should be considering continuing in the direction of trend, at least on the daily chart, even the 12 and 8 hour, until you see otherwise. So even if it does hit a weekly supply, just be wary of that, but that still doesn't mean that you have to stop longing on the daily demands, or even 12 and 8 hour demands. I mean, maybe be careful of the lower time frames than that, you know, because at least you might see weekly supplies give like larger retracements, or weekly demands vice versa. But also obviously always be conscious of where the dollar is, because that can really help. But, you know, like I say, it is challenging. You know, we've got this big 3-month demand in here now, so certainly I'll be looking for tests off the top there, but it can still be just as valid and go all the way down to the bottom here and still be valid. So just need to be aware of that, and then yeah, and then those time frames. You know, it's the time frame of the bias, because, you know, like let's say we reject here and we make a weekly supply up here. You know, it's got a weekly demand there now, but let's say it sort of hangs out here a week, makes a weekly supply, it can come back down into here, test the weekly supply and move lower. So we can still get that bounce. Like, there's so many different outcomes. You know, and like I say here, you know, had the 6-month demand in here, and it's still managed to come really deep inside it. I can't remember which wave it is, but and this is more of a breakout move now. So I'd be more inclined to think this is going to hold if it tests near the top here, at least on the annual where these gaps are. Obviously, you can use fibs and things like that, but yeah. So when you're looking at the impulses, if you're looking at impulse moves, and so yeah, this annual level would be quite a decent level for this to retrace to actually, and then get a bounce at the moment, or, you know, if it rejects here on the 2-day well, let's say the weekly up there would be the 70 fib. Yeah, I suppose it's trying to recognise whether the supply and demand are in ranges or not, like if it's actually broken out of a range. Then you're probably more likely to get the aggressive re-entries. Whereas this was at this, you know, so this is, ignoring this big drop, this is a strong 3-month close above that level, of the levels of the last multiple 3-month candles. So it is a good 3-month close, so the 3-month demand is relatively stronger. This down move throws it off a bit. Oops, excuse me. You know, for example, we can see similar here. You know, I had a 3-month demand here, closed really strong above, but not below, not above this. Did then come back down, came quite deep into the 3-month demand, and in fact then ultimately wicked like much lower inside it. Maybe there's a monthly in there as well. I'm not sure sort of what happened, in what order this happened. Let's just look at the lower time frame. Yeah, I need to look at that's the COVID fuckery, so maybe it's not really indicative, but yeah, sort of came down in the 3-month demand here, did move up. I think it went up then down, but I actually can't remember. But yeah, did move up, did eventually break the 3-month, like, you know, play out the 3-month demand, but then obviously has had the bigger drop because it's been unable to break this high. So it's possible we get, you know, similar here, that we come back into the 3-month demand, test it, go up. If it's unable to break this high, then we might see this break down, or maybe we just come back down into the annual demand here. But yeah, so many different factors, and I don't really like to predict that far ahead. Just trade each zone as you see them created, because really, what do I care what it's going to do in 2 years' time when I'm trading tomorrow? Anyway, I hope that's useful. Anyone who's using the alerts, feel free to message in the group and ask any questions you want. And let me know if you also, you know, if you've got any tips for me, if you're an experienced trader, or even if you're not experienced, and you think there's some better way I can set alerts, or like, you know, become aware of when these really strong trends that aren't going to retrace are going to happen, feel free to let me know. Because yeah, I'm still at a bit of a loss. I can tell when the alerts hit whether I should or shouldn't trade them. That is easy enough, but you know, whether to set, you know, a short alert here, a short alert here, okay, that one worked, this one didn't. And then potentially short alerts here on whatever this previous high is. And then, you know, they all get run through to try and get a better idea of when we might get a strong run like that would be nice. And maybe it's just simply because we had a strong run down that's going to retrace quicker. Anyway, hope that's useful. Now I can clean up my charts and put some new annual levels, and I might try and do a stream maybe next weekend, this weekend or next weekend, or this weekend or next week, just going over sort of where the annual levels are and 6-month levels, and what potentially the high time frame prospects are. Okay, have a good week, have a good year.